On this Super Sunday, we get to see one of the super teams in lacrosse, #1 Duke, taking on the Colonials of Robert Morris. Alongside former Tewaaraton Award winner Matt Ward, I'm Anish Shroff. So much hoopla, so much hype surrounding Duke entering the season, Matt. We finally got to see it Friday against Denver. We finally got to see Michael Sowers and Brennan O'Neill.
Yeah, Sowers, the runaway preseason player of the year, and Brennan O'Neill, the highest rated recruit that I can remember. This duo will be fun to watch. Sowers with the vision, O'Neill with the outside range shooting. They're both incredibly athletic in different ways. This team will go as far as these two will take them.
Those two were the story early for Duke. Then the Blue Devils taunted their depth, finishing the game on an 8-1 run. They were down 6-1 at one point, rallied for a 2-goal win against Denver. The catalyst of the comeback was the goalie. Mike Adler started, benched in the second quarter. Turner Upgren came in, and he was fantastic. And Matt, it's Upgren who gets the start again today.
You have to ride the hot hand. Upgren was the key difference maker in that game for when Duke started playing Duke lacrosse.
To the opening face-off we go. Steve Delamanche for Robert Morris, and Duke wins the draw. It's Joe Naso, the freshman. Duke struggled at the X in that game against Denver, just 6 of 25. Michael Sowers, ball in his cross, and that's where he's so comfortable and so lethal. And somebody lost a stick. That one did not go in.
It'll be
Shot
interesting
by
to
Sean
see.
Lowry.
That could have been on the inside post. I know we had one yesterday in the Towson, Virginia game that looked to hit that interior post. So did that one.
Robert Morris in transition. Let's see if they try to go early, and a save by Upgren. It's fished out by Tyler Carpenter, the senior. Matt, we were talking before the game, and you said 23's got to touch it on every offensive possession.
And so far, early in this game, he's in a much better spot. Right there with a great opportunity. But when you have a player of his ability, you don't build the system around him. He is going to dictate what you do with the other players. Give him the ball, make him your focal point on offense, and you are going to be very tough to stop. He's averaging more than 6 points in his career per game. That is ludicrous.
He was averaging almost 9.5 per game last year.
It was the best start to a
favorite
season.
for the Tewaaraton.
Best start to a season I've ever seen. What he was doing at Princeton last year.
That's too bad we couldn't see it through. Here's Jake Boudreau. He hits the turf. Ball comes out. And Robert Morris scoops it up. This is a veteran Robert Morris team. Flag coming against Duke. The top 6 for the Colonials. 3 grad students, including a 7th-year senior. More on Jimmy Perkins later. 2 traditional 4th-year seniors, and then Elliot Holden, a sophomore. And they've won a lot of games. In the tournament in 2018 and 19 as NEC champions. Playing as an independent this year after 10 years in the NEC. And that one shot wide by Corson Keeley.
And the core of this team has had big wins in their program. They beat a Marquette. They beat Penn State in 2018. And right there, the trip, clearly a penalty. And this Robert Morris team is going to be very good on the man up with their Canadian flair, their stick skills. Look for them to start with some quick passes and change sets early on.
Kenny Brower to the box. Robert Morris, man up. 8 of 26 with the extra man last year. First game of the season for the Colonials. Duke, as we mentioned, played Friday against Duke. Started slow, finished fast. Boudreau now, the senior from Canada. Here is Jimmy Perkins, 51. Over to Keeley. Perkins feeding the crease to Boudreau. And Robert Morris, Bobby Moe with the opening salvo.
And Robert Morris starts in a circle set here, offense, an empty crease. They then cut forward. And right there you can see Boudreau from Perkins. Just simple. Get to the crease. Be patient. Couple stick fakes back of the net. Picture perfect man-up offense there.
Jimmy Perkins, who had the assist, spent 4 years at Robert Morris, 2 of them cut short by injury. Then went to Utah for 2 years to get a master's in commercial real estate. Scored 40-plus goals for the Utes. Back to Robert Morris. He's a Pittsburgh guy, wanted to come home for a 7th year. Legend, my hero, first-team All-American just for playing 7 years of college lacrosse. He'll be able to rent a car next month.
I think he was actually in the movie Animal House.
That's right. Van Wilder was another 7-year guy, wasn't he?
He was.
Kai Montgomery, he had a goal in the opener. Shoots, and a save by Ben Savic. 2 early saves by Savic. Robert Morris in transition. Again, older team. They've played a lot of ball together. 2018, when Maryland was the defending champion, Robert Morris led 6-3 at halftime in the first round. In 2019, they lost in round 1 to eventual champion Virginia. Head coach Andrew McMinn telling us they're not afraid of Duke. They've played in big games. A chance here, too high, off the cross of Ryan Smith. And Matt, Smith is one to watch. 3rd overall pick in the NLL entry draft, another Canadian.
And he is not someone you want to let get free with their hands that close in this ballgame. He is incredibly skilled. He is thick and plays this game with poise and skill.
Perkins has his man hung up. Upgren out of the cage. Perkins, Vipers around. Now picked up by JT Giles Harris, best defender in the country. Keeley feeding inside. Corson Keeley to Ryan Smith, then Robert Morris up 2-0. This feels like the Denver game from Friday.
Robert Morris has come to play, and again, offensively, this team is incredibly skilled. This is perfect offense. Drive down the side, throw the ball through X, the perfectly timed cut, the patient finish. If you're a high school coach or a college coach, you clip that play right there, and you just show it on repeat over and over and over. This is team offense. This is a team game, and if you play at that level, Ryan Smith, as good as it gets.
I'll regret saying this, but are we ready to short the Duke stock?
Not unless they freeze your trading, Anish.
February 7th.
But again, this is a game. This is Duke, typically a team that doesn't play great early in the season. They really like to feel themselves out and learn the roles per each player. But this is a Robert Morris team that they were 4-2 last year, beat High Point, who is a good team. It is a solid program, right? I mean, they've made the last 2 the NCAA tournaments, and so they know how to compete against the best programs.
Duke trailed 6-1 against Denver. The goalie change seemed to spur them. Smith back to Boudreau against the shorty Jake Caputo. Boudreau has it stick checked away. It's picked up, and another goal by Robert Morris. Austin Popovich, he's their top midi.
Robert Morris getting goals in all types of fashion. Man-up goal. Great team offense going right there. The awareness inside by Popovich. The tough ground ball. And the finish. And right now you can notice Robert Morris is putting every shot to the top portion of the cage. Upgren dipping his hands a little bit. You don't like to put that on Upgren. It was 1-0, but there is a tendency right now for him to drop his hands. Something to keep an eye on.
Popovich was in the middle of a breakout season last year before things ended. Another chance, another goal. Robert Morris taking it to the #1 team in the country, Corson Keeley. It's 4-0. And if you're John Danowski, you got to think timeout right now.
The pinch and pop, the push, and that the great pass there. What's unique in that situation is the face-off man, Delamonte, left-handed with the pass down the near side. Again, low to high.
Naso's taking every face-off for Duke. He and Delamonte battling, and Naso wins this one. Naso, a freshman, plays it to Terry Lindsay, and the short stick D-Mitty gets Duke on the board.
Duke answering the bell. We mentioned they'd been struggling at the face-off. Naso, the freshman, wins it. Very patient. He draws the defenseman to him and then makes the pass to Terry Lindsay. Just what Duke ordered or needed.
Matt, Super Sunday, people do squares, right? If you were doing squares for this game, Naso to Lindsay for the first Duke goal. Nobody had that. That wasn't even an option.
You haven't seen my squares, obviously, Anish.
No.
Two face-offs in a row there for Duke.
First touch here for Brennan O'Neill, 34 in white, #1 freshman in his class, considered a generational talent. '91 Griffin Catlett scored his first career goal in that win against Denver. Now it looks like they're shutting off Sowers. Robert Morris pressing out. Here's O'Neill. That one hit the side of the net. And it's picked up by Robert Morris. James Leary had it, recovers. Traversing that sideline. And brings it across, made sure he was onside.
Another transition opportunity here for Robert Morris.
Oh, if that was caught clean, that was another look for the Colonials.
That's the second time Robert Morris has caught Duke in transition out of the out of the substitution box.
Is this maybe the effect of playing 2 games in 3 days?
Absolutely. Early on in the season with not anywhere near what you're typically used to preseason-wise from a scrimmage perspective, even numbers of practice, playing back-to-back games in a weekend will wear on you. We saw that today with Denver.
Ryan Smith, his second, unassisted. It's 5-1. And to that point, Matt, though, with Duke, what have we talked about? It's been the depth. So many different pieces. They should be able to be ready for these kind of games. 2 games in 3 days.
More than most teams, but, you know, give credit to Robert Morris today. I mean, they have been scrappy on ground balls. They have been efficient on offense. They're doing it all. They're having assisted goals right there. Ryan Smith with the individual effort. Again, another shot high. Upgren now taken out of the cage. Kind of like a reversal here, right? The first game we saw Adler start and Upgren came in and made all the difference in the world. What happens here today?
So now Mike Adler, a 3-year starter at St. Joe's, top 10 nationally in save percentage the last 2 years. Back in goal for Duke. He was pulled early in the second quarter in the Denver game. Now this Robert Morris team, impressive. They're playing together. They move the ball, unselfish. Not a lot of wasted movement, Matt.
No, and the part to me, I was expecting sharp stick skills. I was expecting them to be crafty in the interior. Their athleticism is standing out to me. And another transition opportunity here out of the substitution.
Using the sub game, and Adler comes up with a save. We get the flag now.
And you can see the difference there in Upgren and Adler. Adler stayed high in the cage for Duke. obviously caught something there on the sideline, noticing the tendencies in Robert Morris shooting to stay high. But again, look, Robert Morris, that's the third fast break opportunity they've created out of substitutions. That should not happen for the Duke Blue Devils defense.
A lot of these Robert Morris midfielders are two-way guys, so that allows them to get into their transition without subbing as well.
And you can be tricky. You can pretend to run back and then pretend to run the midfield and then change course and attack the offensive side. But again, Robert Morris now on the man up, open set, look for a couple quick passes, and then at least one or two people to cut to the crease.
Boudreau. And we get a whistle.
Looked like it was interference or a moving pick. But really like those sets from Robert Morris. They're doing a nice job. That was, 1 foot up in the air that prevented them from getting a quality shot.
Jake Caputo will jog it in. And they finally get it to Sowers. Sean Vines pressing out. Vines, a junior college transfer, second season with the Colonials. Sean Lowry, fifth-year senior out of Massachusetts. Toward the cage, turned back. Off the cross of Caputo, out of bounds, flag down on Robert Morris. Owen down in the box, a minute man up for the Blue Devils. Last season, Duke only 4 of 18 with the extra man. Sowers operates from X. Checked by Chasen, feeds in front. What a pass and what a finish. And those two have a little synergy. Sowers to Philip Robertson, his old teammate who came over from Princeton.
Not your typical man-up goal. Sowers holding on to the ball. But look at this feed. Picture perfect pass. Now, again, that's good defense from Robert Morris. The skill level to jam it inside to Robinson there from Sowers, right on his stick. Completely elite. And again, a big goal there for Duke on the man-up. Robertson's first goal on the season.
He had 67 at Princeton. 32 of those assisted by Sowers. Mesa wins the faceoff. Second-ranked Fogo coming out of high school according to Inside Lacrosse. And they get it back to Sowers. And Kai Montgomery now. Riley Walsh.
A pretty good second midfield here for Duke, huh, Nish? You look at the talent and the experience that they have. They're going to put a lot of pressure on worn-down defenses.
Shot wide by Dyson Williams, the Canadian. It was off the stick of Savic, so shot clock resets. Here's Brennan O'Neill, bullies inside. Ball's in front of the cage and secured by Ben Savic. Savic, a Division II transfer, spent a couple of seasons at Palm Beach Atlantic in West Palm Beach, Florida. Blake Laurie, there was a call for a timeout from the sideline. Did Robert Morris get it? They did. We told you this Robert Morris team was a veteran group. Ryan Smith, a fifth-year senior, a captain. Jimmy Perkins, everybody's All-American, a seventh-year senior. Austin Popovich, their top midfielder, another fifth-year guy. Matt Quint and I were talking about this the last couple of days. In a season where there's not going to be a lot of continuity, you're going to have interruptions. There's got to be a bigger advantage for teams that have played together in the past, teams that have chemistry and continuity built in, whereas you have a team like Duke where they're still trying to figure out how the pieces work, even though they're pieces every coach would want to figure out how to work.
Yeah, and again, I look at it kind of different. There's pieces that can come in that just fit naturally, right? I watched Virginia play last night, and Bertrand, the transfer from a D2 school, looked the part, and he looked completely comfortable because he just fit. Sowers and O'Neal are two new pieces, completely different. It's going to take them time to figure out their chemistry with one another. And O'Neal, again, with the hype, I love his game, right? I mean, the kid, his highlights are phenomenal, but he's not going to necessarily be that much bigger than everyone anymore, and there's tons of skilled players. So he's got to figure out, what's my game going to be? Am I the initiator off the end line and try to take it to the cage like he did previously? Or am I going to be the person that lets Michael Sowers kind of dictate the offense and get good on the off-ball side of things and catch defenses out of position? To me, that's, if I'm Duke, every possession's getting through Michael Sowers. Every single one. He is at least initiating something, and start taking advantage of O'Neal on the wings and at goal line extended to take advantage of his size and his stick skills.
Matt, I want to be careful how I phrase this because we can all be prisoners of the moment. 1 through 60 on their roster, I don't know if anybody has more talent in the country than Duke. It's as deep a team as we've seen in a long time. But at the end of the day, you can only play 10 guys at a time. And what we saw from Virginia, mid-season form yesterday against Towson, North Carolina looked electric. They absolutely Alderoned Denver, a Denver team that almost beat Duke on Friday. Should we recalibrate how we've thought the ACC was supposed to look going into the season based on what we've seen, or do we just say, hold on, it's still February 7th?
I think both. I mean, I think it is early in the season, and Duke always is the program that gets better more than anyone else during the season, but I think we underestimate, and the depth of the ACC is just bananas. I mean, Virginia, North Carolina, Syracuse hasn't played yet, but we forget they were probably the best team in the country last year.
Couple of big saves there by Adler. Another man-up chance for Robert Morris.
I mean, if you're watching this Robert Morris, we're going to get the penalties here, but, I mean, man, do they look the part right now. I mean, they are playing crisp lacrosse.
Zero turnovers for Robert Morris.
How often do you see
they
a goalie
get Adler?
He got 2 slashes. I don't think I've ever seen that before from a goalkeeper.
So Upgren will come back in. They'll have another player serve the penalty.
But just watching Adler and Upgren, Adler stays tall, Upgren dips down. And so again, it's Robert Morris seems to have Upgren's number, just being high net shooters. But here with a man up for 2 minutes, they can be patient. They can spin the ball quickly, tire this Duke man down defense out, and hopefully find one in the interior.
Right side! Right side! Right side!
Alex Funk up top, Boudreau. Now they'll try the hidden ball trick. Boudreau's got it though. He didn't fool anybody. Popovich now on the wing to Smith. Still probing the perimeter.
They are being very patient. This is exactly what you want for a 2-minute man up.
Boudreau's pass knocked down. Carpenter with a nice play. It's vacuumed by JT Giles Harris, and he comes away with it for Duke. Tornado's out of trouble.
What a play by Giles Harris on the man down. Gets the ground ball and then breaks through double teams.
And a timeout by Duke.
Just a big stop here from Duke's man down. The deflection. Look at Giles Harris there. Gets the ground ball. The strength in his cradle to maintain possession right here. The nice footwork and the spin. Are they 6-7-0, playing great lacrosse. They really hadn't been challenged or played any elite teams, but I don't know, they're scary. You watched them play today, and Virginia, who struggled last year in the shortened season. So a little shocked on that one. Not as surprised on the Syracuse side. I mean, you give credit to the team that was ranked number 1 at the end of the year prior, and Syracuse was pretty dominant. I mean, that midfield that they have is second to none. Great in the cage. That team is going to be something to contend with.
They got another big-time freshman coming in, Owen Hiltz out of Canada. Chase Scanlon back for another season, and you mentioned that midfield, Dordovic, Curry, Trimboli. I thought Jamie Trimboli doesn't get enough credit, one of the more underrated middies in the country, and boy, Virginia yesterday.
I mean, that's Syracuse midfield. Talk about athleticism, right? I mean, that they can do it on both ends, right? And you look at Virginia, you look at their midfield, it's, you know, maybe outside of one, they're more offensively focused. I mean, that Syracuse team is going to push it in transition, just continually put the pressure on you with their athleticism, unlike any other midfield that I think we see in the country.
What was so stunning in some ways about Virginia's win, Matt Moore did not play. Dox Aiken still limited, was not a factor. Ian Laviano, who led the ACC in goals 2 years ago, no goals, no assists. It didn't matter. We saw Schellenberger, the number 1 recruit in the country the previous year, who redshirted last year. We saw Charlie Bertrand, 2-time Division II Player of the Year. Peyton Cormier, sophomore, 6 goals.
Yeah, Virginia looked sharp. I mean, not their MO is to be that sharp early in the season, but they were on point yesterday, playing that fast-paced brand of lacrosse and getting everyone involved.
Back to even strength. Here's Owen Caputo. And a shot clock violation. Duke was unaware of how much time was left.
They used a large portion of that shot clock to kill the man down. Even if that goal would have counted, Savic is on. I mean, he is lights out right now, seeing the ball, controlling rebounds. Duke hasn't had a ton of opportunities, but when they had, he's been up to par.
Popovich to Boudreau, final seconds. At what point do you go, Matt?
I think, right, I mean, you got to go within the 10-second mark. Right here, he's going to have an opportunity.
Boudreau feeding the crease. Keeley falling down. It's picked up by Upgren. 2 seconds. 1 second. And time expires. Now, there's an old saying, fairy tales are more than true, not because they tell us that dragons exist, but because they tell us dragons can be defeated. Robert Morris embracing the role of the proverbial David. Up 5-2 at the end of 1 on the ultimate Goliath.
Welcome back here to Durham, and Michael Sowers being held in check, not getting to the place of the field that he's used to operating best, behind the cage, finding his teammates. And right here, you can just see the vision, getting it to O'Neal, the freshman, at a great place to dodge. And then, again, same place on the field, operating behind the cage. His pinpoint passing is phenomenal. Again, Duke's going to get it around the cage, get it back to him behind the cage, and this is when he is absolutely devastating to a defense with his vision. Again, a simple looking pass, but he knew where he was going with that ball. 2 passes prior, best passer in college lacrosse, best passer we've seen in some time. Again, the thing that Robert Morris has done in this game, though, is they're shutting him off. They're taking him out of his comfort level, and he hasn't really shown the energy or the desire to get the ball in those scenarios. He's okay with being shut off, and he shouldn't be.
Aso wins the faceoff. Okay, well, if you shut him off, what's plan B, plan C for Duke?
shut off doesn't mean you can't get the ball, right? You can set picks on ball. You can double team him there, and again, Sowers with a rare turnover, but he doesn't have a lot of those, so I wouldn't let that one play define how they're going to attack, but it's off dead balls, it's setting picks, it's in transition, getting the ball into his stick early so he can dictate the offense.
Ryan Smith backing down. Fifth-year senior, the captain, has it jarred loose. Gobbled up by Duke and Caputo. Aggressive ride, Caputo withstands it. Here's O'Neal, missed it wide on the bouncer.
But here's an example off a dead ball, right? A shot out of bounds. Nobody other than Sauer should pick up this ball for the entirety of this game if Robert Morris is going to utilize that strategy. And he should not give it up. I don't like the idea of just dodging immediately off of offense. Like to typically create offense off of passes. But if they're going to take your best player, the best player in college lacrosse, out of the game, you just can't give the ball up that easily.
Cameron Baddour looking to get to that left hand. He does. O'Neal will trigger. Who does Brennan O'Neal remind you of?
A John Grant Jr. type player. I mean, the great out of Delaware, one of the best pro players of all time. I mean, he was a big lefty, flair for the dramatic with his stick skills. O'Neal has all of that. I think John Grant Jr. figured out his game was he didn't need a ton of separation. He was deceptively quick. But he used his size more than I feel like O'Neal has been using so far, obviously early on in his career. That's something he can figure out, though. He's gonna get accustomed to that and identify what his best opportunity is this year because it's going to change over his career.
Here's Jimmy Perkins. One thing that impressed me about O'Neal on Friday, being scrappy, going after ground balls, aggressive in the ride. Feet inside, it gets away. It's kicked toward the end line. Perkins keeps it in bounds. And Robert Morris prevents the over and back, somehow salvaging the possession. And that's a juice play for the bench.
Typically, when you have matchups where you think one team athletically has the advantage, those ground balls always come up that team's favor. But Robert Morris today is winning the majority of those 50-50 scraps.
5 to shoot. Perkins has his pass intercepted by Adler. 5 turnovers for Robert Morris. Duke has to get it across before that clock hits 60, and they do. Montgomery gets the step, shoots low, save. Savick arms back to Joey Manown.
Savick sharp down low early on. Duke continues to pepper him at his feet, and he is on top of those. They need to start changing up their release points and start shooting towards the upper portion of the cage.
Aiden Tenenza, another freshman, same high school as Brennan O'Neal, taken away by Holden. Blake Laurie, his brother Bo, played at Ohio State, was on that Final Four team in 2017.
I think Duke's going to be offside here based on listening to the Robert Morris bench asking and pleading for the offsides, and now there's a flag on the field.
Boudreau against Manown. That's a matchup for Robert Morris. Feeding inside, another save by Adler.
You had 2 different people that went off sides, coach. No, we didn't. Yeah, we had 23. You had 7, then 7 came in. Oh, we got 2 guys for white, 23 and 7. Offsides, 30 seconds. 23 and 7.
2 players offsides for Duke. Will Frizzoli and Sowers.
Sowers was going to go offsides on the ride. He stepped over the midfield line, and then I believe the second infraction is going to be when Duke was trying to get Sowers over the midfield line to get a more defensive-oriented player on the field, and I don't think they executed it well enough, and now they're 2-man down. But Anish, talk about, Adler right now, right? A couple saves up high. When Robert Morris would have a ton of success early on. So again, kind of feels similar to what we saw with Duke Denver. Made that goalie change, and you notice an immediate difference. Somebody keep an eye on here, though. Adler looks to be staring straight into the sun as it sets down in Durham.
The Manfred man special. Perkins over to Smith. 2 seconds on the man up. Even strength. Perkins denied by Adler on the doorstep. He was not blinded by the light. Lindsay, who's got one of the 2 Duke goals. Great passing, just unable to convert. Dyson Williams looking for Jake Caputo. Dyson Williams last year, 25 goals to lead Duke as a freshman. Had 7 in a game against Richmond. Scored on 16 of his final 23 shots of the season. And a penalty coming against James Larry, 39 for Robert Morris. Here's O'Neal, left hand, bouncer, turned away. Man up for Duke.
And Sean Vines, number 17 with the slash. Gonna give Duke the man opportunity for a minute. Again, this is where Sowers can pick you apart. You see him right now behind the cage. Expect Duke to spin it maybe once or twice with crisp in and out of their stick passing. Get the ball to X and have a couple cuts and look for Sowers to feed the interior.
Sowers looking for Dyson Williams. It's intercepted. Will Johansson, junior from Victoria, British Columbia. And now Robert Morris will try to kill this Duke man up.
And I don't mind that play for Duke in the man up. I think it was just one circle around the perimeter too soon, right? You have to make the defense work. You have to have a couple dummy cuts before you're going to be able to find those people that open in the interior. So a little too early in the cycle for Duke.
Perkins eats the turf, gets back up, and we get a whistle.
Maybe a timeout, I'd imagine.
Timeout.
That's 2 great timeouts for Robert Morris to maintain possession. Robert Morris up 5-2 on the number 1 ranked Duke Blue Devils.
.8:47 to go, second quarter, with Matt Ward and Ish Schroff. We have already seen the other 2 teams in the ACC that played this weekend. Syracuse and Notre Dame will play later. Virginia looked great Saturday. North Carolina dropped 24 on Denver. No one scored that many goals against Bill Tierney at either Princeton or Denver. Duke, preseason number 1, consensus number 1, has looked anything but. Struggled against Denver early on Friday, had to rally for a 12-10 win, and now on the ropes midway through the second half against Robert Morris. Boudreau has his pass taken away. Adler's provided a lift. That pass batted down. Perkins turned away. Adler on the doorstep again. Boudreau spin cycles, lost the ball. Big ground ball here. And it comes to Duke. Frizzoli galloping into the box. Plays it back. Bounce shot and a score. Jake Caputo.
Adler playing the role of spoiler. The pass intercepted there. Robert Morris deflects his pass, but look at that acrobatic save. And then again, Duke on the transition here. Caputo, a two-way type midfielder, patient, drops his hand to the far corner. You know, Caputo gets that goal, but right now the story is Adler in the cage. It's 2 games in a row for the Blue Devils in 2 different scenarios. Adler started game 1. Upgren came in and was a difference maker. Changed the roles today. Upgren struggled, and Adler has been phenomenal.
That's a dangerous formula to carry forward, though.
I don't think it's one you draw up as your, what you want for the season, right? What is it, 2 goalies, you don't have one? But the difference is these goalies have both played great, in the second scenario. They've struggled in cage early on. But Adler right now, I think with 4 saves and no goals, some of them for the dramatic.
It's 5-3, and again, if you're playing squares, where did the Duke goals come from today? Terry Lindsay, Philip Robertson, and Jake Caputo. Another save by Adler. He's been a stone wall. That's 4. Off the scramble. Adler pounces out of the cage. And then he gets decked. Out of bounds. Robert Morris ball. Quick restart. Now they had a chance there to put one on the empty net. Dan Taddeo, 29.
And if I'm Robert Morris, I actually may slow it down here a little bit. I think they're getting a little nervous with Adler in cage. I feel like they don't feel particularly comfortable. And there's a turnover here, I'm not sure why, but if I'm Robert Morris, maybe a little more patient offensively.
And a long pole goal by Tyler Carpenter. We knew Duke had depth. They're getting scoring today, though, from guys you don't expect it from.
And Carpenter here pushing in transition. Robert Morris slow to go. Duke getting goals, to your point, in non-typical 6-on-6 fashion from the unknowns. Tyler Carpenter, a sophomore, his first goal of the season. 2 goals in transition. Now, again, if you're not clicking offensively, you're a coach. How do you get your team going? You get a couple saves in cage, you put the ball on the deck, and you push it in tempo or in transition. And Duke is certainly playing that part right now for the second half of this quarter.
Tyler's older brother, CJ, played for Duke. A couple of years ago, he really came on down the stretch during Duke's semifinal run. It belongs to Duke. Here comes Sowers, shadowed by Vines. Sowers just an assist. Has 1 goal as a Blue Devil off his foot. Still hasn't scored with his stick. Now the freshman, Denenza. Owen Caputo, 2 goals against Denver, shoots low, saved. Rebound is loose. It's like they're curling. Withholding against Robert Morris, so back to Duke. 5:51 to go. It's a 1-goal game. Here comes Sowers, best player in the country.
And I like this wrinkle from Duke with Sowers getting him in front of the cage.
Feet in front. And Duke in the crease.
Sowers typically known as an ex-attackman, but he's underratedly efficient in front of the cage from the high wings. I like Duke, implementing different strategies to get him involved into the flow of the game.
A 17-minute scoring drought now for Robert Morris after the hot start.
But Anish, you called the Denver game, right? I'm watching this game and I watched that game. Robert Morris looks like the better team right now. In the Denver-Duke game, I didn't get that sense. So Duke was down, but I didn't think they were necessarily being outplayed. In this game, I feel like they've been outplayed and quite frankly lucky to only be down a goal.
Boudreau's shot. Adler continues to be a barricade.
And that's the difference right there. Adler's come in and been phenomenal.
Well, Matt, I'll pose this question to you. If Robert Morris played Denver tomorrow, are you taking Robert Morris?
They look to be better right now. I mean, if you look at Denver, they played Duke competitively, but squeaked by Utah in their game. In their first opener, they had a goal in the first half. Today, obviously, travel and a lot of games in a short period of time kind of warn them. But I'm not sure Denver has the athleticism. They looked slow to me, and this Robert Morris team does not. So right now, Robert Morris has been more impressive.
It's a Robert Morris team that will join the Atlantic Sun in 2022, playing a gauntlet of a schedule this year as an independent, no longer in the NEC. They'll join the A-Sun with Air Force, Bellarmine, Cleveland State, Detroit Mercy, and Utah. And you look at their schedule, they only play 2 true home games.
I think the ACC teams are watching this early on. I'm like, man, maybe we should have scheduled somebody else because this team has come to play and are very competitive.
But Matt, with the mystery surrounding the Ivy League, we know Yale's not going to play. If there's no Ivy League lacrosse, that's going to open up some spots. And let's say Robert Morris somehow can get out of Durham with a win. They got High Point, Bucknell, Bellarmine. All of a sudden you're thinking, all right, if you beat Duke, you got a chance. You put together a solid season with this schedule, they got a shot to get in.
Yeah, the Ivy League being, potentially not a factor will open up the postseason for a lot of programs that may have felt shortchanged in the years past, right? High Point last year or 2 years ago had a gripe for not making the tournament. Without the Ivy Leagues, they're in. So it'll be a nice experience for some of these programs that are just used to the I have to win my tournament to get in situation.
Big ground ball, Duke, the scrapper, Dyson Williams, the Canadian, the trash collector, ties it at 5.
Another abnormal goal for Duke off the scramble in the middle of the field. Williams sticks his nose into the dirt. Picks up the ground ball. Right here, you're going to see him come in. Break in the right way, get the ground ball. At some point, here it is, and then the nice backhanded finish. Duke has not been able to score 6-on-6, but they've gotten goals in transition. They've gotten the hard ground ball, kind of quote-unquote garbage goal like they did right there. So the Blue Devils are finding a way to get back in this game.
It started with the goalie change. Mike Adler, 5 of 5 since coming on after being yanked in the opener against Denver. Sowers feeds the wing to O'Neal. Brennan O'Neal, 3 goals in his debut against Denver, scoreless today. Four unanswered by Duke after being down 5-1. And scoring today coming from unlikely sources. Owen Caputo against Holden, saved by Savic. Shot clock resets, Caputo tries to retrieve. Evan Helmick tried to pick it up, couldn't. Now we've seen a lot of these 50-50 ground balls today. This one comes to Dyson Williams. He lost it. A flag is down.
And it's been the difference in the game. Those ground balls were all coming up Robert Morris early on. They've all been coming up Blue Devils here in the later part of the first half, and that ground ball led to a tripping penalty that's now going to give the Blue Devils a minute on the man up. 2 big-time ground balls from Williams, number 51, for Duke. One results in a goal. The other results in a penalty on Robert Morris, giving the Blue Devils another man up.
Duke 1 for 2 with the extra man. Philip Robertson scored the extra man goal. The Princeton transfer, the other one. Nakai Montgomery. Badur cans it. 5 straight for Duke. They have their first lead.
How pretty was that? The skip pass down to Sowers. Then in and out of his stick to Baddour. Look at that. I mean, that is the definition of tic-tac-toe. It all starts with Montgomery with the skip pass to Stowers. Stowers knowing exactly where he's going with that ball once he catches it, in the perfectly timed cut from Cameron Baddour. His first goal of the season, a big one for the Blue Devils.
He was playing well last year. 8 goals, 7 assists. Always been a big EMO guy. That's his 4th career man-up goal. Naso the face-off win. Out of bounds, it'll stay. Nope, looks like it'll go to Robert Morris.
This is a big possession for Robert Morris. I feel like early on they had picked up a lot of confidence, both emotionally but also energy-wise, and their shooting, they've struggled. So this is big. If they can get a goal here, tie this game at 6, it could go a long way to them emotionally being back into this game.
Matt, what was working before that Robert Morris has to get back to?
I think that they were doing all the things, great offense, right? I mean, they had some individual efforts. They had some drawing. You know, right here you have Smith. If he could draw a double, bang it through X, get a couple timed cuts. But at the end of the day, to me, it's just been the shooting's different. You know, I think Adler made a couple saves, and they then start second-guessing themselves.
Smith looking for Perkins on the inside. Tyler Carpenter has it. Dumps it out to Brower. Adler 5 for 5 in goals since entering. That's been a big difference. 2 games in a row. A goalie change has sparked a comeback. Sowers against Vines. Feeding Lindsay. Saved by Savic. 8 saves in the first half for Savic. Many didn't expect this to be a close one at halftime. Bobby Moe hanging with the #1 team in the country. Relaxing with Peacock and Nakai Montgomery. 5-0 run to close the first half, leading Robert Morris by 1. But the Colonials, Matt, got off to the fast start. They led 5-1 at one point. Ryan Smith, one of their veterans, with a couple of goals.
Yeah, Ryan Smith, the #3 pick in the National Lacrosse League's draft. The indoor game right there, one off ball, one individual effort there with a slick finish. And then Duke made the change. Adler in cage right there. That was the first stop he made all game, and you can see him seeing the release points right away, baiting shooters to shoot it high, picking off passes. For the second game in a row, Adler comes into the cage for Duke. They make a goalie switch, and it changes the whole momentum of the first half. And then Duke getting goals in transition. Carpenter and Caputo putting in the back of the cage. Duke doesn't have a traditional 6-on-6 goal, yet they find themselves up 6-5 here to start the second half.
One area where Duke has improved from Friday, faceoffs 9 of 13.
And those faceoffs were big there in the second quarter. Robert Morris won a bunch early on, but Duke has come in tough off the wings. They're getting those 50-50 ground balls now. They're kind of asserting their will in a physical way. And to me, you know, both goalies playing well. Adler came in and has been all the difference in the world. But for Robert Morris, you know, Savic has been lights out as well. He's stopping everything low. He's baiting Syracuse's or Duke shooters, into low percentage shots, and he's been sharp.
Adler, who survived a shark attack when he was in high school back in 2013. He knows resiliency after getting benched in that Friday game against Denver. Needed 50 stitches, tore 5 ligaments in his leg, and guess what? He still surfs.
Would you give up surfing if you got attacked by a shark, Anish?
I can't even swim, so like that's not even a non-starter. That is a non-starter.
I thought you were going to quote forgetting Sarah Marshall. What happened?
Delamanche wins the faceoff. Let's see if Robert Morris tries to get some early offense.
And that was the key early on. You know, Anish, you mentioned it was Robert Morris attacking Duke early in the sets.
Jimmy Perkins. Jimbo Slice on Twitter. Perkins behind the back, off the mark. Adler slow out of the cage. We've got a whistle. It's a loose ball push on Duke.
And Duke has really stepped up their defense. You know, in that second quarter, Robert Morris had 7 shots and 7 turnovers. Not a ratio you like to see as an offense. And Duke causes another one right there. Good defense by Tyler Carpenter, the long stick midi.
He had a goal in that first half for Duke. So did 6 and white Jake Caputo. 2 short stick D middies, Caputo and Terry Lindsay, and a long pole. And Carpenter with half of the Duke scoring. Brennan O'Neill, top freshman in the country, scoreless in that opening half. Michael Sowers had a couple of assists for Duke, still looking for that first true goal off his stick. Kicked one in against Denver. Dyson Williams, you mentioned that's the Sunfield. I don't know if Savick saw that.
And Duke's best offensive set there. They get Caputo again coming on the high wing. Just simple, no reason for Williams to be that wide open. Caputo had not forced the issue, and he shouldn't have drawn that much attention. Right there, Williams, the nice catch. He changes planes high to low. Duke now up 2, 6 straight goals for the Devils.
Dyson Williams played for the great Brody Merrill at the Hill Academy. Led all freshmen, averaging more than 3 goals a game last season. Del Monte and Naso. Couple of freshmen battling. New face-off rules and a lot more of that. The wings getting involved.
That's been
Garrett Ledman.
I've always been a proponent. I love teams having dominant face-off men. Like, for whatever reason, I feel like it allows for those great comebacks in May that you just don't see in any other sport. But I get the appeal of having more ground balls, more 50-50, and I think the rules changes in the games that I've watched has made the wing players that much more important. So you can still have an advantage, but maybe not one that's just a make it take it like it has been for the Baptistes and the Erlands and some of the greats that our game has had.
You see the verbiage there on the new rule, standing neutral grip. If you've got a bingo board, that's got to be on it. Denenza looking for Williams.
30.
Riley Walsh. O'Neill slipping and sliding. Whips it wide. It's amazing, right, to see guys like Manown and Riley Walsh, Nakai Montgomery, who we have seen featured in such prominent roles before, now bit players on this team. Joey Manown. 85th career goal.
Duke starting to roll. Manown here attacks the backside, left hand. The extra step to the far post is key. Just picture perfect release on that play. But talking about, Manown, someone who's been a starter in his career, you can make a big impact, right? You're a third attackman. Yeah, you can. They know who you are, but if you get those unexpected goals out of a second midfield, you can make a bigger impact. And that's what Duke's looking for that line of Montgomery and Manown.
Delamonte went early. Duke without Joe Robertson again. They hope to have him back for the next game. Unavailable along with JP Basile and Cameron Moulet today. Robertson injured last year. Missed the entire season with an ACL injury. But 90 goals in his first 2 seasons. And 2 years ago, when Duke got to championship weekend, Robertson was their leading scorer. Kevin Quigley, he's got 49 career goals. This is, I guess, the third midfield today. It's Quigley, Catlett, Nakai Montgomery. O'Neill backing in, draws the double. Looking to shovel back to Nakai, it's picked off. Robert Morris has gone about 30 minutes since its last goal. Elliot Holden. They got Nakai trapped on defense. Didn't take the matchup. Robert Morris has missed its last 9.
And not too many quality shots there. I know Adler's had a few saves early on that were big, that were high-quality saves. And then they've really started to force the issue a little bit. That's
Another
a big save
by
for
Adler.
That's a good one. Ryan Smith coming down to his right hand to drop your sticks but get your shoulder up like that.
Caputo nearly had his second. That would have been nifty. Carpenter digs it out. Does that change, Matt, how you think as a shooter when you're facing a hot goalie?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, as much as shooting, just like anything else, it's confidence, right? I mean, if you shoot it and you think it's going in, you're going to be more accurate. You're going to put more power on it versus when you start second-guessing yourself. And you can see that in Robert Morris and how they've been shooting since Adler's coming to cage.
Owen Caputo. Back up top, Cameron Bedour. His second. Depth of scoring in 2 games for Duke has been on display. 9 different goal scorers in the opener, 7 today.
And Caputo, the nice initiation, and the Bedour gets his second of the cage. Picture perfect form, high to low. He plants that lower body and gets all the torque and the hip swing into his shot. His third of the season, but 2 big ones today. Duke really is an animal based on time of possession, right? I mean, if they have the ball, you know, they're going to put some numbers up, but they don't tend to do well. They're not facing off, and just like other teams, but they've really made a change there in the middle of the field in terms of ground balls as they get another piece of laundry thrown on the field here, and they're going to go man up again.
Matt, you can't breathe against this Duke offense. It's not like the second or third midfield comes in and as a defense you can catch your breath. It's not a show-me unit.
I think you may be more nervous when the second midfield comes on because you don't have as much scouting on them. You don't know what to expect. But I mean, you just think about the ACC. What team are you breathing against? I mean, like, goaltending and faceoffs have never been more important in terms of a league and who's going to come out the big dog than this season in the ACC. Right, everyone has Notre Dame as the last team. I mean, they have the best defense. It's just the question is, does defense matter? Can your defense be that good to contain these offenses?
Get the penalty, yeah. They've got Thornton, Keelty, Cohen back there. Entenmann in goal. The other side has Sowers and Gray. Matt Moore and Schellenberger.
I mean, it's just remarkable. You look at these teams. I mean, Duke did a lot of damage in terms of transfers. The other teams just did a lot of damage. They kept kids at the program. So now you have really 5 unbelievable recruiting classes on, you know, and the players that stayed are probably your best players, right? So, like, you kind of weed out some of the lower-end players, but you keep your nucleus, and then you bring in new young talent. I mean, this has to be the best talent that college lacrosse has ever seen because there's just more of it. You know, everyone got a redshirt year.
Yeah, there's never been more talent concentrated in the game. Duke 2 out of 3 with the extra man. Sowers has been dangerous on the EMO today. That one is wide. Shot by Philip Robertson. Now that was saved, excuse me. There's Sowers. Dyson Williams. Savic out of the cage. And it comes to Johansson. Williams in pursuit. Johansson eludes it. Blake Lowery thought about it for a moment. Now Duke's defense has tightened up. Nice play there by Brower.
That was a phenomenal play by Brower. Robert Morris was going to have a scoring opportunity, but he had his stick in the right place at the right time. Big time.
8 straight goals by Duke after Robert Morris took a 5-1 lead early.
And something Duke's done really well on the defensive end, they've made some adjustments in that substitution game. That was where Robert Morris was getting a lot of uneven opportunities early on in the game, and not so much as Duke's made some adjustments.
Brandon Solhoff. Here's Holden. And his pass goes awry. Picked up by Duke. Braden Burke.
See, this is Sowers. I'm pushing here. This is where he's best. You know, unsettled situation, slow break, get on the wing.
Is there something to being the new guy and wanting to fit in versus, hey, every time I take the field, I'm the best player. Be the best player.
Yes, I mean, I think you look at like a LeBron James, right? People credit him for getting the right players involved early on in the game so they get into the flow and feel the, importance in the game. But I don't know, if I'm Sowers and, I'm coming off a season where I was averaging more than 9 points a game, I don't know. I think I'm going to want the ball every possession. And if you start, and especially if they're all assists, right? Like, people are going to love you. If you dish up 6 assists a game, you're going to be their best friend. So, I just think he's trying to find his rhythm in the offense. It's a different offense. This may be me thinking way too much into it, but I don't know if he loves the surface at Duke's field. It's a grass field. He's been used to playing on turf. There is a difference in that, especially for a quick player like himself. So that may or may not be the case. He doesn't look to me to be as jitterbuggy as he has been in the past, but I'm sure he'll find his way. I just want to see him play to the highest ability that he can, and to me, I can't imagine this is the case, but he seems to be not like he's playing with a ton of confidence, which is shocking to me.
Extra man for Robert Morris. They have not scored since the first quarter. Ryan Smith's got 2 of the 5. Here's Boudreau. Good look. Adler there on the rebound. It's Keeley. Now, nothing Adler could do about that one. He has stopped 8 of 9. He's been a difference maker. But Corson Keeley on cleanup duty.
I mean, right here, Robert Morris. Adler with that save. Robert Morris needs more of those breaks and quick hands inside to keep.
From Hobart to Maryland, Mike Adler. St. Joe's to Duke. Jackson Morrill, Yale to Denver. Michael Sowers, Princeton to Duke. And the Blue Devils brought in impact transfer Sowers, Adler, faceoff man Dan O'Connell, Philip Robertson from Princeton. All were captains at their previous school. Well, today Sowers, a couple of helpers, and Mike Adler coming off the bench today. After getting benched on Friday, he has stopped 8 of 9. He has been the difference in this game.
Second game in a row for the Blue Devils where the goalie coming off the bench has made the difference. I mean, you have to think Adler, obviously a great career prior to Duke. Maybe he was a little nervous in that first game against Denver. New program. He got peppered pretty early and didn't seem to be seeing the ball too well. But today, Robert Morris hasn't found it very easy to get it by him. The one goal they have was off a rebound, off an amazing save that he made. So he has been the story. I mean, obviously Sowers, we'll talk about him till we're blue in our face. But Adler has made a much bigger impact in this game than Sowers has.
Jay Caputo, he's been great on ground balls today. A lot of hustle plays from that rope unit for Duke.
Duke just always reloads in the defensive midfield, but they just do a great job of identifying players that can push it in both ways. Just great two-way players that could play offense at other programs, but they've decided, hey, where I can be most impactful, make the biggest difference for my team, is to be a great short stick defensive midi and push it in transition. And those goals that they got early in transition today are what sparked the offensive, flurry that they've had here.
Another save by Savic. He has been almost every bit Adler's equal in keeping Robert Morris in this game. 11 saves now. Boudreau gets it across. Popovich drew the slide. Taddeo. Look at JT Giles Harris. What's yours is mine, and what's mine is mine own.
This is a good matchup here. Ryan Smith, their best offensive player.
Yeah, he just slid and ate the turf. JT with the ground ball. O'Neal cranks, saved by Savic. I don't know if he saw it.
But going back to that Smith play, right? I mean, this Duke field looks hard. You could see him sliding there. And that's why I'm just thinking Sowers, like he's the type of player that he can't be playing on skates on those hard fields. He needs to be able to stop on a dime and change directions as quickly as he can, because that's his biggest advantage. He's quicker than everybody, and that may be neutralized somewhat here on Duke's playing surface.
Yeah, good point. Popovich. Now Holden, who scored 10 goals on 22 shots last year, and that one wide. Taddeo against Carpenter, or rather Brower. Holden steps into another one and skirts it wide.
Holden missed Ryan Smith there in the interior. They had done a nice job with a couple passes, and Smith had opened up. With Adler playing the way that he is, you take your chances on the interior rather than the 15-yard step down.
And that time it's Ryan Smith right on the crease. And Robert Morris with 2 straight. They are not going away. It's 9-7.
And this play right here is why Ryan Smith, one of the top indoor prospects in the game. The catch, the composure, bearing it to the far post. Look, I mean, this is his hand, sticks all over his hands, able to keep it slow and put it to the far post. His 3rd goal of the game with the hat trick.
Smith, a former NEC Rookie of the Year, 94 career goals coming into the season. Last year in the opener, 8 goals, a couple of helpers against Canisius. O'Neal's been quiet.
To me, O'Neal's has been forcing a little bit. That shot, the last shot, he double clutched. I don't think he's probably ever done that in his career. He's overthinking it a little bit. He's forced the issue. Even the best recruits in the country, one of the best players that we've ever seen in the high school game, are going to have some growing pains in the college game. Is Duke right there does a nice job on the offense. Again, that second midfield coming back to Duke and putting another one on the cage.
And that was one where O'Neal had a look, decided to make the extra pass.
And right there, it's that vision that we love about his game. We know his athletic prowess, his stick skills, but it's his understanding of the game. And right there, he knows that Robert Morris is going to run out at him, out of control, and leave the crease open. And then a nice touch pass to Riley Walsh. I mean, Riley Walsh still in college, blows my mind. He was one of the bigger recruits, an impact player as a freshman, now running the second midfield, and again gets a goal in the 2nd straight game for the Blue Devils.
Naso all the way, trail checked away.
It's a bad break for Robert Morris. Oh, no, okay. Thought they were going to call the trip on Robert Morris.
90 seconds to go in the 3rd. 8 different goal scorers for Duke.
It's a pretty cool trend we're seeing. I think, was it today that North Carolina had 10 different goal scorers? Virginia had a number last night, so these teams are deep and talented, unlike anything we've ever seen.
Nice move by Popovich. Holden on the wing, trying to get around JT Giles Harris. Instead it's Smith. Pythons around. Looking. Final minute. Gets away from Keeley, out of bounds, Duke ball. Denenza, the freshman, a Long Island kid who dreamt of playing for Duke. You think of it. Kids now dream of playing for Duke. That's been the team that's been on TV for the past decade. It's the team that you saw as a fixture for championship weekend. "15 seconds. O'Neal and Sowers working a two-man game. Now Vines won't let Sowers get free. O'Neal against Helmick. Skips it to Dyson Williams. Shot bothered. 9/10 of a second left.
Now, if Brennan O'Neal can continually...
That I don't believe will count. It does not.
But that's, again, awareness play right there. Duke very well coached, creating an opportunity. But a third quarter led by the Blue Devils. They now have a 3-goal lead, taking it to...
Responded with 8 straight to go up 9-5. Since then, Robert Morris has scored twice, Duke once, so it's 10-7 as we start the fourth. Number 1 team in the country, the Blue Devils. This supposed unbeatable, invincible Goliath. Players everywhere. They brought in Michael Sowers, the best player in the country from Princeton, where he was the Tigers' all-time leading scorer. They brought in Brennan O'Neal, number 34, a generational freshman, one of the biggest high school recruits ever. They struggled in the opener against Denver, winning 12-10, down 6-1 in that game. They struggled early today with Matt Ward and Ish Schroff, and Naso winning the faceoff. Feeding Brennan O'Neal. Dyson Williams hits the side of the net, and a break for Robert Morris. Now, the one area where Duke has come as advertised, Matt, so far, the depth. It's shown up in both games.
Yeah, if you were to look at Duke, you would think, number 1, probably the best duo in college lacrosse when you think Sowers and O'Neal, right? Just based on his hype alone, O'Neal, and then Sowers, what we've seen in for his career. Their strength has been, quite frankly, their backup goalie going in each game, and then the depth. Their goalies have come in tough situations and played really well, but it's just getting contributions from everyone on the roster. The defensive middies pushing in transition. The Walshes, the Caputos. That has been their strength. And again, if they get those pieces and Sowers and O'Neal tend to get that rhythm, watch out. But Robert Morris not going away.
Jake Boudreau, the Canadian, a 3-year starter. 9 goals last year. One of 3 Canadians in the starting 6 on offense. Individual
right
effort.
There. And Boudreau, the key here, right? We're going to see Caputo forces him to his right hand, knowing he's a lefty, but then Boudreau does a nice job shifting left, protecting his stick, getting his hands free. It's the footwork, and it's him knowing where he wants to get in the field that made that shot possible.
Naso 15 out of 20. If Robert Morris has any designs on toppling the world order in college lacrosse, they got to win faceoffs in this fourth quarter. And Naso comes away with another one.
Let's say Duke hangs on to this game. Is Duke the number 1 team in the country at the start of next week?
Yes, because there is no media poll this week. Matt Kinnear from Inside Lacrosse sent the email earlier today. There will not be voting this week, so the first poll for the season doesn't come out until the 15th. So to answer your question, yes.
I think that's a way of you avoiding answering the question, Anish.
I gave you the answer.
Oh, what a shot there. Oh, big time shot for Bador. His 3rd of the game, a hat trick. Again, the unknowns right here. I mean, this is just, that's a Division I midi dodge, shooting on the run. To me, I always kind of talk to people. You can be a great, you can be an okay midi if you can shoot time and room. It's the ability to shoot on the run that takes you from good to great, good to phenomenal. And right there, that is what it looks like to a T. Just a hard dodge to his left hand, high to high release to the far post. Bador with his 3rd career hat trick, his 3rd of the game.
ISO's won 16 out of 21. Robert Morris threw a long pole at him and chasing. Didn't matter. Well, it did this time. They get it back. Boudreaux. Holden. Romo, the backup. Nice little appetizer here on Super Sunday. Little lacrosse. What a weekend we've had. Duke Denver got it started on Friday. Virginia flexed on Saturday with 20 goals against Towson despite no Matt Moore, a limited Doc Sakin. Saw the stars and Bertrand and Schellenberger, Cormier, a sock trick. And then, boy, North Carolina Amtrak'd Denver earlier today, 24 goals. Could have had 30 if they wanted to. Just scoring at will, and the amount of great looks they got, it was just uncanny.
24 goals was them being nice, quite frankly, right? I mean, like, it looked like they could have scored every single time they had the possession within the first 20 seconds. I mean, they were, the part that I'm so impressed for them is the pieces just seem to fit better than the other teams I've seen so far, right? I mean, well, look, we're early in the season, and what these teams will be a month from now, 2 months from now is going to be completely different. But if you're North Carolina, you look at you have everything. You have good defense, good goalkeeping. You have a star in Gray. You have Solomon, who's an amazing second attackman. That team just looks the part.
How about Sowers just shredding the defense, finding O'Neal. Yeah, that's the difference early on, North Carolina and Virginia. A lot of these guys have played together longer. Now, let's be honest. We didn't expect Duke to be in a ball game with Robert Morris at this juncture. 11-8, fourth quarter, it's a ball game. I know Duke hasn't played together as much. They did have a full fall. We expected better from Duke, even though it's early in the season.
And look, Duke's a team that I don't think they care if they win or not. And quite frankly, Coach Danowski probably wants a loss, to refocus the team and let them know that, the good things in life aren't easy. There's a penalty here on Robert Morris. But to your point, I mean, you look at the Duke team, right? If Sowers is the player that he's been his whole career, they got a Ferrari, and then they have, 5 really nice cars. Pick your poison. I look at Virginia, I look at UNC, outside of not having maybe a player at the level, right? But you have a Gray and you have a Matt Moore. That's pretty good. And then you look at the depth, I just think they're top 6, maybe a little scarier than Duke's at this point in time.
Penalty on Robert Morris. That's going to be an interesting debate, Matt. Yeah, Duke's roster from top to bottom, nobody can match that in college lacrosse. But can a team put out 10 on the field better than Duke?
On the offensive end, I think you absolutely can. Again, Sowers putting up 9 points a game? No. But what we've seen so far, him still trying to find his way as he gets in his...
Wow,
almost gets another assist there. I don't know. I take Virginia's overall talent and North Carolina's over Duke on the offensive end. O'Neal is great, but is he better than Schellenberger? Seeing what we've seen so far? Probably not. I think Schellenberger was really impressive. So I don't know. When you're running Doc Sakin, Cormier, and Bertrand out of the first midfield, I don't think there's many teams with a lot more depth than that.
30 seconds. 30 seconds. Here we go, Gray!
Another penalty on Robert Morris, so Duke, just as that man up was expiring. Still time on the first man up, so 6-on-4 here for Duke. Not 6-on-5, excuse me.
Towers is going to be trouble here now. They've got Robert Morris rotating.
And like clockwork, Sean Lowry.
And Duke doing a nice job identifying which Robert Morris man was having to play to. And right here they notice, you can see they shove up the field. Lowry just gets his hands open. Robert Morris making that a little too easy for Duke. Helmich out of position. He rotated too far up the field to let Lowry get his hands open.
Lowry, another guy. There's 9,000 guys in college lacrosse this year that you're going to say, man, hasn't he been playing forever?
Lowry,
a fifth year from Massachusetts. Yeah.
That's right. I mean, Lowry, an impact player. Riley Walsh, an impact player.
You're right. These guys were key pieces on teams that reached championship weekend.
Absolutely.
A noun to Quigley. Denenza. You see Holden and Boudreau as D middies. Robert Morris will play its midfielders both ways. Dyson Williams off the feed from Denenza. Bounce shot, another save, Savic. Ball loose in front. And a whistle through the chaos. We see what you see, so we couldn't see the call. It's against Duke.
There was a bunch of pushing there. I think it was just a function of Duke pushed in the back first. Who did they see do it first? It was pretty choppy in there.
And that one froze Adler. Was that the old hip side goal? Popovich.
Definitely one Adler would want back. Right there, they forced Popovich down to his left. He's not able to get much on it. But sometimes the easy ones become difficult. Maybe he just missed it out of the release point. But right there, it seemed to me Adler he had his stick in the right place, was on it from the get-go, and somehow just missed it. Not typical of him in this game so far. He's been phenomenal. His first soft goal of the game.
12-8, still not over. And a face-off one. It's Johansson off the ground. Accelerates. And an unforced error by Robert Morris. Can't do that.
It's tough, right? Because you feel like, hey, maybe 6-on-6, we're not generating a ton. We need to score in transition. But possession's so critical. So, which one do you kind of prioritize over the other?
Montgomery off the rocker step. Nakai Montgomery.
And that's the problem right there. Robert Morris, they have that turnover. They're exhausted on defense. That's why it looks so easy for Montgomery. He was fresh. Robert Morris tired on the defensive end, but just look at this subtle stutter step right there in the explosion. And then he switches to his strong right hand. Goes upstairs. Savic has been phenomenal in cage for Robert Morris down low. Montgomery gets his second goal of the season. Nakai Montgomery, to me, remember that national championship run in that tournament? He was, the hat trick in the first half and was this phenomenal player, and he's kind of plateaued. There's so much more to him in his career and what he's going to do in the season, and I think that's going to be key for Duke, is what kind of player is he? Is he a first-team All-American, a second-team All-American? Is he an All-American at all? And that'll be a big difference for them.
It would not surprise me to see him back on the first midfield before this season is over. Brennan O'Neill to Dyson Williams.
I don't think you leave your best athlete on the second midfield, right? For him, especially when he's skilled. Maybe let him play more D midi. Get him out on the field a lot. I played with a player, Billy Gladding, who was our best D midi, but also played on the second midfield. And right there, he gets his second in a row. This one with his left hand, but it's get him on the field, get him in transition, get him using his speed. Become a second-team All-American as a D-midi, second midfielder, because he has that type of ability. And right there, just hammers it left-handed. Gets two.
We have seen 3 of the 5 teams in the ACC. Peyton Cormier, the Canadian, sock trick for Virginia in a 20-goal explosion against Towson. Turner Upgren was the hero off the bench Friday night for Duke, and boy, Chris Gray, 6 goals in a 24-goal blitz for Carolina today, Matt.
Yeah, Chris Gray, kind of a forgotten, I don't want to say he's forgotten, but I mean, he had over 100 points in his last full season, right? Like, he's an all-time great because of Sowers and what he did last year. People don't talk about him. But so far this season, he looks more comfortable in that offense than I would say Sowers looks for the Blue Devils.
Yeah, he's getting the Dr. Dre circa turn-of-the-century treatment.
That's a sloppy pass there for the Blue Devils. And again, look, Sowers has 3 assists in the game, right? He's got 3 points. And so, but when you put it in context of how good he is, all-time great.
Holden makes it 14-10.
Robert Morris is not going away. They're going to fight right there. Holmgren, step down, righty to the far post. Another nice awareness goal in transition. Duke slow to slide up the field. Kenny Brower, who's been phenomenal for the Blue Devils, a little late, doesn't get his stick on Holmgren's hands. Robert Morris gets to the 10-goal mark.
We have now seen almost 2 full games of Duke, and I keep going back to it's February 7th. We got 3 months of lacrosse, but a couple of big early impressions on the Blue Devils, Matt.
They are going to get a lot better. O'Neal, with all the hype, still figuring the game out. You talk to Coach Tiffany about Schellenberger, right? Number 1 recruit in the country, fanfare, not to the level of O'Neal. But he said redshirting him was like all the difference in the world. It took that pressure off of him. And you can kind of see O'Neal today feeling that pressure. And Duke, my takeaway is they very may well be the number 1 team at the end of the year. I don't think they're that much better than everyone, which the talk I felt like was pretty incisive before the season started. Man, Duke is unbeatable. They're going to blow everyone out. I just don't think that's going to be the case.
The ACC is going to be an Iroquois gauntlet this year. There is no gimme. No result in conference should surprise you.
Yeah, you go into Notre Dame thinking you're going to have, like your easy game, and Notre Dame is phenomenal, right? They can beat you up. Like, that defense is the best. It's just they're just such a different team than the rest of the ACC. It's like offense, offense, offense. Notre Dame is like disciplined offense, phenomenally fierce defense. So they're kind of like that outlier. That doesn't mean they could end up at the top of the league. Who knows, right, when you have that type of talent.
Quigley with the left hand, and it'll stay with Duke. Notre Dame also had some issues in goal for a few years. I thought Liam Entenmann did a really nice job last year as a freshman. And a lot of the shots their goalies see is the result of the guys in front, and the 3 they have in front of it, and as good as it gets. Montgomery feeding the wing. That one hits the pipe off the cross of Philip Robertson. On the rebound to Romo. Here's Leary. Can the Colonials get it to 3? Errant pass turned over. They've had a couple of these opportunities unsettled, and we've seen that a few too many times.
Yeah, a couple turnovers. Credit Duke, though, doing a really good job on those slow breaks, identifying, hey, that's a long stick coming, we're going to be slow to go, and timing it perfectly. And the closer that long stick gets to the attackman, the tougher that pass gets. As Makai
Montgomery has figured out he can do what he wants right now. The hat trick, all 3 in this 4th quarter.
And that's the part that's like confusing about him to me, is how easy does that look? I mean, how easy? I mean, he's effortlessly getting his hands free and separating. Like, he could do that at a much more consistent rate. I feel like sometimes maybe he's disinterested or feels like, hey, it's not on me to create the offense. But that's 3 goals that he's had in a row. The next easier than the first one. Right? He is that type of player. He should not be
running. As a sophomore. Oh, go ahead, Matt.
I was just like, he's the most talented second midfielder like ever, right? Like, there's no reason for him to be on that line. He should be in the conversation for the top tier All-American teams. And so I'm interested, like, where does he go for this season? Is this Coach Nelson getting him in the flow, building up his confidence? But they need him to be elite, not an amazing second line midfielder.
John Danowski has always had a knack of knowing which players are motivated in a certain way, and That could be a motivational carrot, too. Nakai Montgomery last year, banged up a little bit, didn't really have a great season last year for Duke. Wasn't All-American as a sophomore, really improved as a passer that year. You mentioned the breakout as a freshman in the tournament as Caputo shoots wide. He's immensely talented, senior out of Dallas, and you sit down and talk to him. You saw the Relaxing with Peacock feature. Great kid, great kid.
Well, you think about that piece, what to me, which was so interesting, is his love for Coach Danowski, right? Like, oftentimes when this Duke's pressuring here, you know, oftentimes if you're that talented and you had this like amazing run and you're not playing as much, like, you're frustrated with the coach. You don't talk to him about this like father figure. You're upset with it. And so, like, obviously he understands what Coach Danowski's doing and motivating him here. Again, just another goal there. O'Neal gets his second assist for the Blue Devils. Pulling away here, it's kind of maybe a Robert Morris feeling this one getting away from him. They're falling behind here at too big a clip as Robertson gets his second goal of the season.
2 goals for Philip Robertson, another Princeton transfer. His brother Joe, we talk about when Duke puts the pieces together. Joe Robertson, his brother, is going to be a big part of this when he comes back, and he's available.
I love Robertson's game with Sowers when he comes back. Like, I love it because he is like the perfect complement, just off ball, scrappy, going to be in the right place. And again, like an underestimated, Dodger, right? If you look at his career, he was Duke's best attackman a couple seasons ago. So to get him back, I think that's a great point, Anish.
Here comes Sowers. Diving in, does it count? There's a flag down, and the goal is waved off. So Michael Sowers still does not have a goal off his stick as a Blue Devil. Has one off his foot.
I think that's a goal. If you look back at it, you can see
Sowers.
He's frustrated. He wants that first goal. Right here, you're going to see. Obviously a clear push in the back, right there. Released. That's a goal, in my opinion. I'm not sure how that gets taken off the board.
But that's the judgment call, right? Was he pushed in, or was he pushed and then did he dive afterwards?
I think he had released the ball prior to going to the crease, and I think it was probably in the back of the net. So, again, definitely one that would require instant replay. I think, probably tough to call live speed. Right here, the push, the release. I think that's a goal, but he'll have plenty of opportunities to put a few other in the back of the cage for the Blue Devils this season. But what I did like about that play was him starting in front of the cage on the high wings. I watched him last year. I called a game against Virginia, and he is very underestimated in that spot of the field. I'd love to see Duke utilize him there more.
Here is the dive rule. We'll come back to this many times. A player has to dive away from the goal mouth. The ball has to enter the goal before contact with the crease, the goalie, or the goal. If you hit the goalie, minimum 1-minute penalty. And if an offensive player lands in the crease due to legal defensive contact, it is a crease violation. What you saw, obviously, was not legal defensive contact.
So the only thing that dove to the mouth of the crease, I guess, would be the reason you called that one off. But I think that's a tough break for Sowers.
Well, he landed in the goal mouth, so
right.
That right there would negate the goal.
Right.
Ronnie Caputo, longtime D coordinator for Duke. Another man-up chance for the Blue Devils. Slow start, strong finish for Duke, Friday and Sunday. Sowers. That time is a feeder. Noun on the ride. Chasen looking for help. Keeley wanted Perkins. I wanted to see Perkins score. 7th-year senior. We have this headshot that we have to pop it. We've been waiting for him to score so we could show it to you. Here's Perkins. Come on. 7th-year senior. Smith cans it. All right, let's see if we can get the graphic. Perkins as a freshman compared to now. 7th-year senior. I want you to picture that. What did he look like as a freshman? What did he look like now? Ponce de Leon, eat your heart out. This kid has found the fountain of youth. How does he look younger at 24 than he did as a freshman?
I think the frosted tips may help. No, again, living everyone's dream with 7 years in college. A remarkable story, and again, one that's fairly unique in terms of his journey and kind of the programs that he's bounced around to. So I wouldn't want to see my transformation over that period of my lifetime, that's for sure.
A 7th-year senior. He and Rutgers' Adam Sherlambita is the only 7th-year seniors in college lacrosse. I doubt Sherlambita's, though, has aged that gracefully. I doubt anybody's aged that gracefully from 18 to 24. He'll be 25 next month. Now, you're in college for 7 years. You could say you're a doctor. He can rent a car next month. He's taking, what does Tom Brady take, spirulina?
A lot of band exercises.
Here comes Smith. He's got 3 goals today. Perkins, can he clean up? There he is! Jimmy, count it! I think they're going to wave it off. No, they waved it off. Come on. That was going on the All-American reel, Matt. He went to Utah for 2 years, got a master's in commercial real estate. Another flag down. Could you imagine how awesome it would be to be in college at the age of 25 with that knowledge?
I think I could. I'm slightly jealous.
You just hold philosophy sessions in the quad. What do you want to know? Let me teach you about the world.
I think you have to have
some things.
A personal assistant at that point, right? The good old
absolutely.
Van Wilder. You have to play that role.
Saved by Adler. You got to get 51 a chance. Smith. Andrew Bonafide, the new goalie for Duke. Not Adler. Goalie change. Adler finished with 11 saves coming off the bench today. Helped Duke get back in this game. Turnaround whip is not there by Popovich. Perkins will initiate, 55 seconds. We get a timeout. All right, Matt, Super Bowl tonight. Who do you got?
I have the Chiefs 24-17. I can't see another Tom Brady Super Bowl, so we'll go with the Chiefs, and I'll take Patrick Mahomes as the MVP. Go down a limb
Mahomes
there, by the way.
As the MVP, I like the Chiefs big 41-20. I'm also, you don't even say long-suffering Jet fan, it's just implied, Jet fan. Long-suffering is just assumed. So, yeah, Brady at the dais receiving another Super Bowl trophy. I can't stomach that either. Chiefs 41-20. Duke was down 5-1 in this contest. Robert Morris jumped out early, much like Denver did. Duke trailed 6-1 to Denver on Friday, and then Robert Morris went almost 2 quarters without a goal. Duke in the second half, 10 goals. Nikai Montgomery, 3 in the fourth quarter. Badur with a hat trick. And early on, what kept Duke in this game? The goalie change, Adler coming in off the bench for Turner Upgren. And getting scoring from some unlikely sources, yeah.
I think the face-off X and then a couple unlikely goals, one off the ground by Williams, a couple in transition. You know, getting some goals, probably not the way they usually expect to, right? This is a team that the offensive depth at 6-on-6, they have to feel comfortable that they're going to get a good quality shot on more possessions than not. But they kind of excelled in the other areas. And again, long-term, that could be a good lesson learned for them.
Skip pass. Bounce shot and a score. Corson Keeley, 50-plus goals a couple of years ago.
That looked similar to some of their goals early on, where they created some slides, did a couple skip passes, crisp passing. They just lost their way a little bit there in the middle of the game. I think Duke really clamped down defensively. We haven't really talked about Duke's defense at all, but I thought they were really, really sharp after a slow start and once Adler came in there in the cage. Adler stole a couple, but their defense also wasn't giving up high-quality shots and made his life a little bit easier, so kudos to them. And they had a couple goals that they created for Duke in the transition game as well.
Robert Morris plays all but 2 of its games on the road. They're an independent, so hard to get a schedule together. They're going to be a tough out. Veteran team, they got some pieces. Keeley with another one. There's a flag down. 6.4 seconds to go. And in a year where we may not have Ivy League teams vying for a spot in the tournament field, don't sleep on Robert Morris, a team that has been in the tournament the last 2 years we've had one. Matt, what is your big picture takeaway on the ACC from what you've seen over the last few days?
Obviously early on, but it's, I think, as good a conference that we've ever seen, top to bottom depth. I think the brand of lacrosse that they're going to put out on the field will be second to none, and that's not hyperbole. This conference is just loaded. If you look at their rosters, there are players you forget about that were impact players only a couple years ago, right? The best players stayed for their 5th years, and then the ACC typically has some of the best recruiting classes, if not the best recruiting classes. So it's just absolutely loaded.
Duke does it again with a comeback. Down 5-1. They rattled off 8 straight, never looked back. The Blue Devils improved to 2-0. But Matt, we've learned, hey, Virginia's going to be really good this year. North Carolina dropped 24 early today. Duke might have been the story coming into the season. They've got some pretty stiff competition as to who's number 1 in the ACC. Final score from Koskinen, Duke 16, Robert Morris 12.